Yo, what's going on, everybody? Scotty Boots here. Movie review time, talking about Scream or Scream 5 or Scream 2022. Is probably how this will end up getting referenced. So, kind of the funny play with that because it's a joke throughout the movie as well. But we have the new Scream here, picking up 25, 26 years later after the first Scream, which is crazy to think back in 1996 when this all started. I have a very deep relationship with these movies because I remember, being a little kid watching Scream for the first time when my mom brought it home and just fell in love with the movie. It scared the crap out of me as a kid. I thought it was just so much fun. I didn't get all the references in it, until growing up with the movie and rewatching more and more. So I've just always had a very deep relationship with the movie because of it being a straight horror film for me. And then later on in life, as I continued to grow with it, seeing more and more of, what that movie really was and how special it is. And I just love Scream. And I love the whole franchise. Scream 1, Scream 4 to me are absolute masterpieces. Scream 2 is amazing. In 3, for as much flack as it gets, it's still a strong entry. It's just, the weak one compared to how strong the other movies are. And now we get the 5th entry in this franchise. Just unbelievable to think that, 10, 11 years after Scream 4, now we've got Scream 5 here. So we're going to do a quick movie review with this. I'm going to save spoilers for the end, so this will all be very, very spoiler free. I'm not even going to jump into any kind of like plot details or anything like that. I'm just going to share my thoughts with a couple of things, and then I would share a couple things with spoilers because there's one thing in particular that I definitely want to talk about. And but I'll warn before we get there. So keeping this very basic with everything. All in all, I really liked the movie. I thought this was another very strong entry. Ghostface is fantastic in here, and that's really why we go see these movies. You want to see Ghostface, you want to see, what we call now our legacy characters because we just grown to love them. I mean, when you look at Neve Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox, right? These three mainstays that have been throughout this entire franchise, those characters cemented into a film franchise. Them to Scream is as strong as any other characters with any other film franchise. All right, maybe not as strong, or stronger rather, but as strong. Easily can make that comparison because we don't see them do much of anything else. But when we see a Scream movie, the first thing that crossed my mind when they said Scream, I said, I'm going because I want Ghostface, I want Sidney Prescott, I want Dewey Riley, and I want Gale Weathers. That was the first thing I thought. If you give me those 4 things, you've got me immediately. And if any of that would have fallen through, the interest for this movie, for a lot of people, would have immediately went away. So they are absolute horror icons, all 4 of them. And I think it's absolutely fantastic that we've got them in more modern horror icons. So with that alone, this movie had my interest, and I had a really good time with this movie. It's not as fun as the other Scream movies. I feel like the other Scream movies have a much better blend of, what would be kind of like the satire, comedy, the horror elements, just having fun with everything. This movie here definitely has a little bit more of an edge to it, which didn't bother me at all. You could feel it within the pacing more than anything with the movie. It's a couple pacing issues, and obviously Wes Craven's not back to do this. Rest in peace, Wes. The movie's for Wes. I thought that was, beautiful touch there. But you can feel it a little bit. The folks that came in to direct this are the ones that did the movie Ready or Not, which is a great movie. Had a lot of fun with that movie. You can tell they're not trying to do anything to overstep Wes Craven, do anything overly stylistic. They keep it very much to a T of what you would kind of expect from a Scream movie. The only gripe that I have a little bit with how the movie was directed and kind of the cinematography with everything is everything felt like it was shot very close. I feel like with Wes, he, does such a great job balancing his shots where you get a wide shot, a little bit of a tighter shot, a little bit of a stationary shot, so you can kind of see, the set and what's happening. This movie felt like it was shot very close. Everything felt tight and claustrophobic, and it works for some of the scenes if you're trying to build tension with stuff, but when you have characters just, having dialogue, I want to see what's going on. And a perfect example of that is in the first Scream, when you get to the end and the resolution with everything, when you've got, Billy and Stu and Sydney in the kitchen. It's shot beautifully because a couple of shots in there that are tight, stationary, open. You get a grand scale of what it is being inside that kitchen scene. And this movie, you don't really get that. Everything feels a little bit too tight and claustrophobic. So I could have done with a little bit of a different cinematography style, a little bit different directing on that side. But that's neither here nor there. That's a minor thing, but just something that I noticed throughout the movie, and a couple of the tropes that are fun in the other Scream movies that they play on, I feel like are a little bit overused in this movie here. The grand cast, that we get, our new high school kids that are introduced in this here. Every Scream movie follows Sydney, Gale, Dewey, and kind of like their story with everything. But you always get some new characters that come in, especially in Scream 4. You get this whole new cast that's kind of their story. Integrating with our legacy characters. All the new kids in this one here, for me, were very forgettable. Some of them had some decent personalities, and there was a couple of standouts, but as a whole collective, I wasn't feeling them. They didn't take away from the movie at all. I just didn't feel connected to any of them. I was more interested in what was happening with characters that have already been established, because these new characters didn't take my interest. So wasn't too thrilled with all the new characters there, and I think some of what takes away from them is kind of the fun poking and jabbing. It's like, oh, you're the killer, you're the killer, you're the killer, that we kind of see throughout all the movies. Everybody's a suspect. They really overstay their welcome with that in this movie. It's very just drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled, and just got to the point where it's just like, listen, we get it. Everybody's a suspect. We've been here. Why are these people friends? Why are these people even hanging out if this is your immediate assumption and talk? It's fun, in the world of the movie, but, when you think about these characters in the real world, it just doesn't make any sense with, some of the poking and jabbing that continuously is going on. So could have done without some of that there. And those are just some minor gripes with everything. So let's talk about the fantastic, amazing things, right? Ghostface. Everybody wants to see Ghostface. The kills, what's the dialogue like? And that's what's so fun about these movies and the Ghostface character. You make the call, you're having some fun with your victim. The dialogue is always so strong. Ghostface always has, witty comebacks, witty things to say. And, the kills, to have a guy in a cloth robe and a mask and just a knife, right? They come up with such inventive ways to do kills, because it's really just a bunch of stabbing. But every single kill, I feel like, throughout the Scream franchise, with the exception of, some in Scream 3, because they're a little toned down, but they do a really good job making the kills interesting. We got so many kills with just a knife, right? This movie does such an amazing job. The kills are fantastic in this here. Absolutely fantastic. And there's a couple standouts for sure, and they do a great job letting you soak some of these kills in too. It's not a lot of quick cutaways and stuff. There's a couple where you really get to just take it in, and I thought those were beautifully done. So bravo with that. Amazing. Ghostface is fantastic. Dialogue with Ghostface is great. The story in this movie, with where they kind of go, I'm not going to get into specific plot details at all, but the story with where they go with this, I walked out of this movie feeling almost the weirdest I've ever felt walking out of a movie, not knowing what happened, because I walked out saying, man, that was really good, but then I was also saying this was also really unnecessary. It was a very weird kind of a feeling to come out of it with that, because the movie is really good. Just as a standalone movie, it's really good, but as far as it making sense as to why they came back to do it, it just felt extremely unnecessary. Like Scream 4 even, I was hesitant on, because even though Scream 3 is kind of the weak link of what the trilogy was originally, when they came back for 4, I was like, well, I'm super stoked because we're getting everybody back, but how do you bring this back now? And I thought with Scream 4 was just genius, because it progressed the story. There was a purpose for making the movie. There was more character arc, but the characters that continue to develop them. You brought in new characters who were very interesting. And then to kind of do the Scream thing and tie it in with, where the current world of horror is and all the meta references and all that. There was a great purpose for it because of the whole remake thing going on. And it was genius. That movie is an absolute masterpiece. And there was so much purpose for it. This one here, it doesn't feel like there's purpose for it. Where Scream 4 was a return back, it seemed like a nice return to form, because they said, hey, we have a story with where we can take these characters, and it's a perfect time to do it because of all these remakes. This is our new way to incorporate into the Scream movies and make it meta and kind of do our references and all that. Works beautifully. Where this movie, I almost felt like it was the opposite. It was like, okay, we're in this new era of horror and all these references and ways that we can do meta things within Scream. So let's take that, and then we're going to find a way to make a story fit into it. You know, it almost felt backwards of what they did with Scream 4. Scream 4 brought forth a story and then incorporated it, where this just took what's happening and then found a way to make a story fit into it. So again, doesn't bother me so much, but it stands out because you do want to see Sidney, Gale, and Dewey, and you want to see those stories continue. And and they're almost criminally underused. They definitely are in the movie, and Dewey's the standout for sure, but they are criminally underused. And I think what hurts that and makes it way more apparent is because these new characters aren't as interesting. Outside, like I said, outside of a couple of them, but overall, the new characters introduced are not as interesting. So the more that you get a little bit more focus with them, the more I'm missing the characters I really want to see. So that's probably what hurts it, because it's really, this new cast of characters story, so to speak. But nevertheless, everything else in the movie, and these are just minor gripes with everything, like I said, it's just, I think if you're seeing this movie as a younger audience, where maybe you binge watched the Scream movies and now you're ready to go see this, I think this movie will have a different impact for those people versus people who grew up watching these movies and have invested 25 years into everything. I think that's where you start to feel that difference come in more than anything. Overall, though, the movie is really good. I had a great time with it. Couple slow spots with some pacing issues. Wish they would have done a little bit different with some of the camera shots with everything. And again, I just there's just some things within the movie that a little bit bothersome, but other than that, I enjoyed it. They did a lot of new things with Ghostface. They definitely did some things that were unexpected, and that's where I'm at with Scream kind of as a whole. So now we're gonna jump to spoilers, which we'll keep pretty brief here, but I do have something I'm gonna rant out a little bit here. So spoiler time. If you haven't seen Scream 2022, hop out, come back, and we're gonna go into this here. So we're going into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Spoilerland. There's one thing I need to rant about. I have to rant about this a little bit, and it's funny because of how the movie is set up with toxic fandom and all this. And this is not, I don't know. You can make of it what you will. I have to rant about this a little bit because it kind of infuriated me in the movie. I was so fucking pissed off that they killed Dewey in this movie. So pissed. My issue with that is not so much that he was killed. I think going into this movie, the fact that, Dewey, Sidney, and Gale have made it this far, I was like, if they're all coming back and doing this, I'm like, there's no way in hell that they're all making out again. I was like, I hope they do, because I love these characters, and they've been through so much together. I don't want to see any of them go, but I'm like, there's no way in hell that we're not getting that. And the second they introduced Dewey in the movie, I knew he was going to be the one to go, because they set him up in this trailer park. He's divorced. He's depressed. He's retired from the police force and everything. He's not sheriff anymore. Like, he's just existing. Gale gets her career back. Sydney has kids, and she's doing just fine. And I'm like, shit, dude. I was like, this is why they're doing this. They gave Gale and Sydney greater purposes to live for, and they put Dewey on the back burner. And I'm like, man, dude. I was like, he's gonna fucking die. Like, I knew it from that moment. So I was kind of okay with it, but I wanted him to get a very honorable death. Now, it's a love-hate relationship with how they did this kill scene, because the kill itself was awesome. It was awesome. It fucking wrecked me when they did it because of how brutal it was. David Arquette sold it like an absolute champ. It was just a very intense moment. And, when the knife goes in and then it goes in the back and it's just riding up, just like opening him up with that, it killed me. Like, it wrecked me almost to the point of Han Solo getting killed in The Force Awakens, when you knew that was coming too, and you knew that moment was coming. The second that Dewey was just like, yep, gotta shoot him in the head. They always come back. And then he closes the elevator. I mean, they told you right there that he was getting killed. So Dewey going, I was okay with. It's the way they did it. They gave him such an awesome kill, and it was such a good moment, even though it just crushed me. But I wish they would have done something different for it, because Dewey has been through this shit for 25 years, all right? You just cap this guy, girl. Well, it's the girl in the mask then. You just cap them down, and you know better as anybody. Why are you walking away? There should not be a moment for you to walk away and then put people in an elevator to go back and clean it up. You cap them down, you reload, you pop them in the head. You know this all too well at this point. So that was only frustrating because of where that decision led. Once he came back and Ghostface was still there, I was like, oh, all right, cool. I think we're going to get something different right here. And he gets close enough, almost the same kind of a bullshit thing like they did in Halloween Kills at the very end. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you put yourself close enough to this killer to where you're an arm's reach away. You've got the gun. And this is part of my issue with everything being shot so close, because if you do give a wide shot with that, it makes this look ridiculous. You have to shoot everything tight so that there's some validity as to why characters are doing certain things. If you shoot this thing down the hospital hall and you see this giant hallway that's 8-10 feet up, across, and Dewey's standing point blank right in front of this person where they can just stick them, it looks ridiculous. You used to be a sheriff, you missed your shot showing up already again, and now we're in a position where you're going to put yourself right there where this person could jump up, and like you're less than an arm's length away. That bugged the shit out of me. I don't like it as a character decision. I don't like it that the phone was a distraction. I mean, just too much of a convenient, perfect timing thing. Here's how I would have done this, and this is why it bothers me, because I thought we were going to get something really different and unique for Scream. Every single Scream movie, we wait till the end, and that's when we get the reveal for our killers. It's every movie. We know the formula to this. I was so certain that they were going to do something extremely different and unique when Dewey walks back, because he's such a smart character and has been through this shit, and Ghostface is still there. I thought for certain he was going to cock that revolver back, shoot that person in the head, pull off the mask, and we were going to get a kill reveal, or the killer reveal, like right there, in the second act. I thought that would have been absolutely genius, because then it gives Dewey and us as the audience this, holy shit, it was this person. Or for Dewey in that case, it's like, oh, one of the friends, or however else you could have put in that, or however else you could put in the mask. But us as an audience are like, oh, damn, holy shit. I thought that would have been genius, absolutely genius to do that. But as Dewey is looking at there, just like acknowledging, like, there's the killer, maybe what you do from there is as he's looking down at the killer, you have the shot facing Dewey and then coming up back, from behind the hallway, or you do it as a surprise where Dewey stands back up and killer number 2 is right behind him, and that's when you stick him in the back, stick him in the front, and you can do the same kill and make it extremely honorable, but at least Dewey goes out honorably. He doesn't go out like a chump, He doesn't go out making a dumb-ass rookie mistake for a character that's been living through this for 25 years. He does the right thing. He caps Ghostface, Chucks catches him, and goes, shit, dude, it was so-and-so. All right, now I'm going to make the call and report it in or whatever. And then, before he's able to do anything with it, that's when killer number 2 comes in and takes him out. I thought that would have been just genius. It would have worked so great for the story. It would have been a total shock, total surprise. That just, man, dude, I feel like that was such a missed opportunity to do something like that. And that's why his death pissed me off, because he died making a stupid rookie mistake. And that way, if you did it the other way, he could have died extremely honorably. Dewey saves the day still, right? That's what Dewey does. Like they say in the movie, he helps people. Dewey still catches the killer, does what he's supposed to do, saves the day. But the other one was right there. All right, and if you even wanted to get crazy with it, there could have been 3 killers. You could have done it easily like that. There could have been just, you had one more character in the movie. That's the one who Dewey shoots in the head. He gets it from behind from the girl, while the boyfriend is still the one in the elevator. I mean, you could have even done something super crazy like that, where you're just like, oh, damn, well, there's only one more killer out. And then you get to the ending of the movie, and then they still have the double reveal like they did, and you're like, holy shit, there was 3 of them. I mean, that any of that would have worked just fine. So that's my biggest gripe. I might even make a second video once the movie's out for a couple. Yeah, probably will. Once the movie's out for a couple of days here, I'm gonna elaborate on what I just talked about and rant a little bit, just so it's a little bit tighter. But I genuinely feel it was a huge missed opportunity, and it aches me so hard for Dewey to go out like that. Great death scene, just the way that we got to that death. I just felt like they could have done so much better. So, where are we at? God, like 20 minutes here. That is my review for Scream. Again, very good movie. I feel like it's very strong and good kind of on its own. As far as the franchise is concerned, it just feels a little unnecessary. If I were to kind of rank these out as far as what my list would be, Scream 1, always the OG is going to be number 1 for me. It's just fucking genius. Scream 1, Scream 4, both of them right there. Scream 2, just a hair below that. This one, just a hair below Scream 2. And then Scream 3, like I said, it's there. It's not a bad movie at all. I just think amongst what is arguably, the quality of the Scream franchise in comparison to any other horror franchise, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, you've got 5, very strong entries, and a couple of them are just absolute masterpieces. So it is as strong as you could put this up against any other horror franchise, and it is definitely amongst the strongest ever created. So I liked it, had a lot of fun with it. I think a couple of these gripe things will kind of go away. It's just very fresh in my mind, and those are some things that stood out to me coming out of the theater. Want to know what your thoughts are with everything? Comment below. Keep the spoilers to a minimum. I'll do another video, a little bit more spoiler on the Dewey thing, and then we can share some spoilers down there if we get some traction on these videos. So if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.